What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and some key levels you really need to watch for. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor this last week, despite a lot of the volatility on Thursday and Friday, did go up 12.62%. So it does have a lot of good momentum behind the scenes. And this upcoming week, there's a lot of good reasons to be fairly bullish. Starting off with on Monday, we have a lot of Fed speakers. Tuesday, we have ADP employment. So last week's numbers were pretty bad. So it came in at negative 11,000. So that did spook the broader market. But this time around, if it comes in a little bit more positive, you could see a nice push higher. So there's going to be a couple things in sight for this week. Consumers. So a lot of people are going to be taking a lot of data and really spinning it to what does this mean for consumers? So at the end of the day, that could work out very positive, because if there's more confidence in consumers, then people will really be buying stocks such as Opendoor. Very linked to consumers, right? So Tuesday is going to be the first of many data points to kind of watch for. Wednesday, we have mortgage applications. So that's again another thing that could really move Opendoor. But for Wednesday, it is going to be the FOMC minutes. Last minutes that did come out really signaled that members, multiple members, in fact, wanted multiple cuts during 2025. So at the end of the day, if we see similar type of wording and mentality, then you could see a very nice push higher, even though technically the market doesn't truly believe that there's a cut right now. So I think it's down like 40% of a likelihood for a 25 basis point cut. That could change the dynamic of that. Thursday, existing home sales. And then on Friday, we have a lot of flash data as well as Michigan consumer sentiment, all of which is going to really impact and move the market. As far as companies unveiling their earnings, we have Nvidia, Walmart, and several others that could really, again, change just people's mentality of the market. So Walmart, I think, is going to be a big one for Opendoor, as well as, I guess, Nvidia, but Walmart is going to be linked to that consumer aspect, and Nvidia, that's just going to be more of a tech AI, just the sentiment around that. So a lot of big things to potentially move the market, but in my opinion, I think especially over the weekend, the market is cautiously optimistic. Aside from that, there really hasn't been any news from Opendoor, no speculative topics. So I think Kaz and a lot of their management team have taken the weekend off tweeting and being active on social media, which obviously I think is good, justified. So let me know your thoughts on that. Aside from all of that fun stuff, shorts. So shorts, I know I did my last Opendoor video, I think it was on Thursday, so I didn't really bring up some of the data points, for instance, on Friday, but Friday, shorts did return 4.7 million shares. So despite the crappy day overall, shorts took advantage and did return. And I've noticed that whoever is shorting Opendoor, whenever there's a bloodbath in the market, they take advantage and they return. They don't double down, which technically they easily could. So in my opinion, that's fairly optimistic and bullish. 23.4% of the free float is being shorted, so that's what we're going into this upcoming week with. 155.22 million shares overall are being shorted. Looking at the options from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of between that $9 to $10 range on the table. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of 750. So definitely there's a lot more upside than down. But one thing I do want to draw your attention to is this right here. So these are all the transactions that did occur on Friday. Above $100,000 on the dark pool. Dark pool is rather difficult to kind of distinguish whether they are buys or sells, but you can kind of look at this, the timestamp, see what happened with the stock price, as well as somewhat look at it on a time standpoint, and just to see whether it kind of moved the ticker. But there was a big one, so roughly $37.7 million in premiums that was done about a minute after the market closed. And during that time frame, the stock price did go higher, as well as the transactions before and after were a little bit lower. So it is fair to assume that that one very large transaction was a buy. So some institution buying after hours on Friday, I always like to take notice of that, because that's very, very abnormal. After hours on Friday is usually silent, right? Because nobody's really doing any speculative plays. If you are going to exit for the weekend, you're going to be doing it during power hour when there is sufficient amount of liquidity. you're not going to be doing it after hours. So that one definitely did stand out. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a nice little pop higher with Opendoor. And plus, we've seen a lot of kind of amended 13Gs come out saying various institutions have bought Opendoor, and plus from a lot of 13Fs, a lot of institutions have been buying. So you never know, you might see something coming down the pipeline sooner rather than later, but that definitely did stand out. Couple key levels to watch for though, with it at 812, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 790 is going to be that very key support level, kind of bounced off of that general area on Friday, and then 922 followed by 1003 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. As I've brought up in my last Thursday video, Elliott Wave Technicals is projecting for Opendoor to hit roughly around that $10.50 to $11 range in the short term, as long as it can hold, I think it was $7.50. So again, that's going to be another element to kind of watch for, aside from all of that fun stuff on the actual chart. Like I said, Thursday and Friday was pretty crappy all around, and a lot of growth stocks did break below the 50-day moving average. In Opendoor's case, we're going into this upcoming week above the 50-day moving average. So some stocks that are going to be kind of moved based on their technicals, Opendoor is going to fare a little bit better, if that kind of makes sense. So 50-day moving average, that's going to be another key point to watch for, as well as the 10. So Opendoor is going into this upcoming week with a lot of good momentum, and that did form on November the 10th. So pretty all around good week for Opendoor. Aside from that, because of the recent price action though, it did put Opendoor fairly kind of overbought. So that's kind of the only negative thing I wanted to bring up about Opendoor's technicals. So if there is more fear that is in the broader market that kind of rolls over into next week or something else, you could see some consolidation. So don't be surprised based on that. But looking at the flow, you've seen a lot of volume move based on algorithmic trading, or getting in because of algorithmic trading. So that's something to keep in mind. There really hasn't been any new articles or any analyst ratings, so it's been largely hyped up because of their most recent earnings. So let me know your thoughts on Opendoor. Where do you realistically see things going? Do you think that we're going to be seeing a new test to potentially be double digit again, or is it going to break below that 50-day moving average, get similar to kind of November 7th lows? What's your kind of viewpoint, and where do you see things going? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.